Today we're going to be checking out all of the NPCs, locations, and routines, part 2. First one is Peter. He lives in the motel. 9:15 he leaves and walks to the gas mart. 10:30 he leaves and walks to the statue. 11:15 he leaves and walks to behind the warehouse. At 1:30 he walks to Taco Tickler. 2:30 he walks to Thrifty Threads. At 4 o'clock he leaves and walks to the pizzeria. At 7:15 he walks to sit in front of the gun range. At 8:45 he goes home for the night. Geraldine. He lives behind the pizzeria. At 9 o'clock he leaves and stands outside. 10 o'clock he walks to the waterfront table. At 11:30 he walks to his hut. At 3:45 he walks to the construction site to talk to Jerry. At 5:30 he leaves and walks to Jerry's campsite. 7:50 he teleports back home. Now for Mick. He lives behind the gas mart. 7 o'clock he's at the pawn shop. 6 o'clock he leaves and walks to his truck, either at his house or across the street. Then he drives to Bud's bar. And at 10 o'clock he goes back home. Now for Chloe. She lives behind Slop Shop. She works at Gas Mart all day and leaves at 6 p.m. and walks to the bus stop. At 7:30 she leaves and walks back to her apartment. Mr. Benji lives at the motel. And for Albert, he's on call. Now for Trent. He lives at the blue house near the bungalow. He leaves at 8 o'clock and walks to the pawn shop. 10 o'clock he leaves and walks to the corner by the Highland Range. 12:30 he leaves and walks to the docks building. 4:30 he walks to the bridge beside Thrifty Threads. 6:30 he leaves and walks to the piss hut. At 8:30 he walks home for the night. Now for Meg. She lives near the bungalow. She's at the gas mart all day. 6 p.m. she goes home for the night. Now for Joyce. 9:30 she comes out of the RV. 10:30 she walks to the tattoo shop. At 11:30 she walks to the bench near the motel. 2 o'clock she walks to the supermarket. 4:30 she walks to the corner behind Slop Shop. 7 o'clock she goes home for the night. Now for Keith. He lives at the apartments beside the bungalow. 8:40 he walks to the waterfront. At 10:30 he walks to the gas mart corner. At 12 o'clock he walks to Taco Tickler. At 3 o'clock he walks to the piss hut. At 4 o'clock he walks to the trash can behind the tattoo shop. At 8 o'clock he goes home for the night. Now for Jerry. At 9:50 he walks to the soda machine and then back to his tent. At 12:20 he walks to the community center. At 3:45 he walks to the construction site. At 5:30 he walks behind the warehouse. At 9:20 he leaves the warehouse and walks home for the night. And that's it for part 2. The full video is on my YouTube channel if you guys want to check it out, and I'll catch you next time.